Also, Matt, I would be scouring social media for pictures of other students in masks, and I would demand to know if they were also suspended because essentially they lose, if not the entire semester, the entire year, since they couldn't take their finals. They weren't notified until later, and now they have to reapply for the fall. They might not get in. What do you see here? Lover of liberty, Matt Welch?
To heck with narking on the other students. Go straight to the chancellor. Let's go to the academic senate. Let's go to the faculty club. I'm sure they've got some dining there at the faculty club, UMass Amherst. It's important to point out, yeah, sure, they may have the right to create arbitrary rules, I suppose. But how arbitrary are these rules? We've known for 13 months. That's a long time, because it's only been like 14 months of this pandemic hitting really hard. We've known for 13 of those months that one of the best things that you can do is to be outside.
Yes.
And to be like talking with your friends, as long as you're not absolutely going full Irish drunk in each other's faces or singing
UMass, so.
or what. Well, it's just true. Can I revise and extend my remarks? No, there's a way to be safe in this pandemic, and part of it is definitely to be outside. These rules are terrible. This is one of the reasons why Gavin Newsom is facing impeachment, is that he closed the playgrounds through the fall in California and closed schools outdoors and all this kind of stuff. This is nonsense science at a university. They should be embarrassed. They should be embarrassed to walk outside and act like normal adults. So even if they lose this contest, this suit or whatever, I hope they take it on the chin in the court of public opinion. This is disgraceful behavior. They deserve anything bad that happens to them as a university. And
these students deserve to take their finals. They deserve to be reinstated. They could have given them probation. They could have given a much milder suspension. But it seems like the people who are making and enforcing the rules, Mo, have kind of lost their mind. That's a really good point, because in the best of times, in great economies, restaurants have very, very narrow margins. When they're at 25, 50% capacity, it's even worse. So if they can't find people to come in, there's no way that they're going to stay afloat. And Matt, to Alexandra's point, you have people, whether it's the teachers unions or congressional leaders, they have been on the government dole for so long. They do not know what it's like to exist in the real world. They are not talking to people who are struggling to survive still, not in spite of, but because of government.
You pointed to the stat that is probably the craziest during this pandemic, which is that the female labor force participation rate dropped to levels that we haven't seen since the Reagan administration. That's crazy. Most of the recession, as felt in unemployment, has been a gendered recession. It's been to females. It picked up in January and February, thankfully, and some people got back in the game once schools in almost exclusively Republican-governed locales opened up their schools 5 days a week. But the amount of uncertainty, as you know so well that you want to scratch somebody's eyeballs out, the amount of uncertainty for people who live in places like New York and who live in places where you can't predict what's going to happen this week, next week, and even to this day in the fall. There's whole states. There's no guarantee what's going to happen with public school in the fall. And so would you take any job right now if you are overwhelmingly responsible for the childcare of kids who you don't know what you're going to do with for the next 5 months? No. And that is really, really a mostly Democratic Party failure. And again, I don't like saying that because I'm not a Republican, but it's also true. It is the single biggest thing that you can do to make this recovery better is to have all places say, we're going to do anything we can to open up schools 5 days a week full-time in person.
They absolutely have to. And, finally, there are states like South Carolina and Montana who are saying we're no longer accepting this federal funding for unemployment insurance because they have to get businesses going again. But that's how crypto came to be. And Gary Gensler, who taught blockchain at MIT, he knows something about this, but he is now joining a chorus of negative voices here, Matt, and the government just wants to get a stranglehold on this. But why did crypto come into being in the first place?
I mean, if you look around and you are someone who wants to hedge your bets to make sure that you're managing your risk. One of the things historically that you've done is you've played currencies off one another. You'd say, okay, the U.S. is going through a big spending era. I'm going to invest in the Swiss franc. Okay, great. Except they pegged theirs to the euro. So you can't really do the Swiss franc anymore. And the euro, every government is spending. There isn't a last reserve currency that you could say, okay, I know those guys are going to be hard, right? The Germans used to be that, but then they lashed themselves to the euro, and so their policy and Greece's policy is the same. So that is what Bitcoin does, in addition to the other things, giving Elon Musk something to nerd out about. It's the last hedge against free spending, constantly debasing national currencies. And it's hilarious to hear a Washington regulator pretend that his concern is that we want to give people more confidence. Dude, why do you think the price has run up so much? It's because you've been nowhere near it. That's the point.
You're
not
betting against
near the currency.
Gary Gensler, and I can't believe the number of people who are so anti-crypto. They're such dinosaurs.